What's that? Is that a New York mug? What? Did I go to New York? What? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought today, considering I've just finished my second term of second year, it would be a good time to have a little sit down, have a catch up, answer some of the questions you guys have been asking me, and yeah, just let you know how it's all been going. Just before we get started, I did want to say thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. I'll be telling you all about them later in today's video. Right, so first things first, how are you finding second year? Is it harder than first year? What are the hardest parts of second year so far? I am enjoying second year so much more than first year. Obviously first year was pretty much a COVID year. We were in a lockdown for the majority of the year and just doing lectures online. Second year is such a contrast. We are allowed to go out again. We're in the lecture theatres a lot more. We're allowed to go to our placements, and I've just met so many more people on my course, and last year I felt really isolated a lot of the time because I only knew my tutor group and a few other people that I met by accident. In terms of the hardest part, it's definitely balancing the social life with med school. I didn't have to do that so much last year because, to be honest, I didn't really have a social life. So that's probably the hardest part. And there's a lot more admin in second year. We've had to do healthcare support worker shifts. We've had to do essays that we didn't really have to do in first year. There's been a lot more going on admin wise. I do think the content is harder in second year, mainly the modules we've done. So nervous system was definitely the most tricky module I think we've done so far. GI was probably the most intense. We just had so much going on in those 4 weeks. I felt exhausted by the end of it. So yeah, definitely harder than first year, but more fun. I go to uni in September. Do you find you have a good uni/work/life balance? And then lots of other people have asked similar questions about how to balance your med school life and social life. Honestly guys, it's more than possible to have a good work-life balance at med school. I think a lot of YouTubers who vlog their med school experience have probably shown you that actually you can do loads of fun stuff outside of studying medicine. It does take up quite a large chunk of my day, Monday to Friday, but outside of that I have plenty of extra time, and it just so happens that a lot of my free time is taken up by working because I do need to pay my rent because I don't get a maintenance loan. But if you're a straight from school student who gets a maintenance loan and doesn't need to worry so much about working part-time, you're gonna have plenty of spare time to have fun, I promise, especially in first and second year. We also get really long summer holidays at the moment, long Easter, long Christmas, like we have so much time off. I think the biggest challenge is probably just feeling pressure because you're a med student to do lots of work in the evenings and the weekends. I don't really work that much in the evenings. That is either time for me to go to work or time for me to relax. And I do definitely try to at least go out once a week or go on a date night with Jack. And Saturday is normally my proper day off. I try to do no work on a Saturday. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes, you know, you might have an extra deadline that you need to get done, but normally I do have an entire Saturday off a week. I think my biggest tip is just to accept that if you don't get all your work done for the week, but you have something fun going on Friday night, then you should absolutely go and do that fun thing on Friday night. Like, don't worry about the work, you will catch up another time. Are there days where you feel like doing no work but then feel guilty? I think I struggle with that mainly because of things like medic Instagram and everyone always posting when they're busy, so you feel like all the time people are working, but actually everyone has time off, and I'm guilty of only filming when I'm busy, but I wouldn't get the vlog camera out when I'm just watching Netflix for 6 hours. So I think it's just about appreciating that everybody has days where they do no work, and that's absolutely fine. And it's hard to get over that feeling of guilt sometimes, but you do just have to switch off and say, no, today is my day off. It's when you get to the 7th day in a row of a day off that you probably should start thinking about doing some work, but it's okay to have a day off, and I do have to remind myself that a lot. But eventually you will just burn out, so it's better to have those days off rather than burn out and then be forced to have multiple days off because you just can't do the work anymore. Has med school affected your mental health? Last year I struggled the most with my mental health that I ever have done in my entire life. I've been really lucky in that, although it runs in my family, I hadn't really struggled with anxiety or depression until last year, and I don't know if that was because of med school. I think it probably had a role to play, but if you watched my vlogs last year, March of 2021 was probably the most difficult month of my life. I ended up in A&E twice because I kept having panic attacks and I thought I was gonna die. I really believed that my heart was gonna stop and I had something wrong with me, and I think the main cause was the lockdowns. I'm a very like social creature and I also like to be busy, and I was just getting so claustrophobic in lockdown. I was getting inside my own head. I think probably the pressure of med school had something to do with that and probably had a part to play. So med school has affected my mental health, but I don't think it was the only thing that caused my anxiety last year. I ended up taking medication for it and I was on propranolol for about 3 or 4 months. Med school has affected my mental health, but this year I'm doing so much better, luckily. I was really nervous to like take medication for it, but I think it was so helpful in the end, and I only got through my exams in first year because I was able to do that, and like I went to my doctor about it. So if you do find yourself struggling with your mental health at med school, like really do go and see your GP. And I feel like now will be a good time to speak about today's video sponsor. So if you haven't heard of BetterHelp, they are basically an online platform where you can sign up and put in your personal information and be matched with a licensed therapist. It's essentially professional therapy online. They can match you with a therapist in under 48 hours, and there's over 20,000 therapists working with BetterHelp. You can schedule weekly private therapy sessions with your therapist, and outside of this you can even message them on an ad hoc basis and they'll get back to you very promptly. It isn't like a crisis line or self-help, it is literally an online therapy platform where you can access scheduled weekly sessions with your therapist, and if you decide you aren't really gelling with your therapist, you can request a new one for no additional cost. One of the main reasons I was really excited to work with BetterHelp is because they actually offer a financial aid scheme and they decide the cost of your therapy sessions based off your income. I know a lot of you guys are probably students like me. I always feel like the cost of doing therapy is the thing that puts me off the most, but they've even given me a 10% off discount link that I will link in the description, and that link will get you 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. So if you visit BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp/Lydia Martin, you'll be able to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp and join over 2 million people who are already taking charge of their mental health. Thank you so much again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. What placement are you most looking forward to and why? I really don't know. I don't know what placement is going to be like. So far we've only done GP placement in first and second year, and we don't start our full-time hospital placements until January 2023. So it is getting closer, but at the moment I really don't know. I think I'm most excited maybe for paediatrics. It's something I can envision myself enjoying, but I won't know obviously until I've tried it. Has your undergrad degree helped you in general on your current course? Yes, definitely. There is some overlap, especially in first year. Not so much now, but it definitely helped. What are the differences between your undergrad degree and the med degree? Main differences are, for my biology degree, I had 6 hours of lectures a week. For med, I can have like 15 hours of lectures a week. There's so much going on, and we had 1 lab a fortnight in biology. I have labs, placement, tutorials, everything with med, so it's mainly the workload is a lot different. Is your med course harder than your undergrad course? I think medicine is harder because there's more to like learn, there's a lot more content, but biology was harder because you had to know specific cellular processes in like great detail. I scraped passes in a lot of modules in biology. Hi, I started medicine at 21 and sometimes feel I'll finish too old. Does that happen to you? Yes, I started medicine at 23 and I do often think, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get my first paid job when I'm 28 years old. That's quite terrifying to me, but at the end of the day I always think back to that famous tweet, you're going to be 28 anyway, why not be 28 and be doing the job you want to do, or and be a doctor. I'm not worried that much because life is really long, okay? Our generation are probably going to be working until we're in our late 60s, early 70s. You know, if I don't start working till I'm 28, that's still like 40 years of work. So I'm kind of happy in this limbo. I've accepted it. Sometimes it does scare me because like my friends are doing so well in their jobs and saving up for houses, and that's just not really a possibility for me for at least a few more years. But I actually think it will be so worth it because I'm going to be doing the job that I've wanted to do for so long. Also, you'll only be 26, I'm guessing, when you graduate, so that's only 2 years older than the average undergrad straight from school medical student. So what's 2 years? It's nothing. You don't need to worry. Someone else is worried about being older. Do you have any advice? My best advice would be, don't write off all of the 18-year-olds as people that won't be your friends, because actually some of them are really lovely and I've made some really good friends. Try to find other graduates on your course, because obviously you'll have things in common with them and they will be slightly older. Just remember that medicine is full of graduate and mature students. Even in the undergrad courses, it is very common to do medicine later in life, because lots of people do it later in life. Don't worry too much, you'll definitely find other mature or graduate students, and again, some of the undergrad students are going to be your friends as well, so don't worry, you'll be fine. Is it worth applying to graduate courses and undergraduate courses? What are the pros and cons? I'm so glad that I applied to a mix. I think you just have to consider with undergraduate as a graduate the financial implications. It's a lot, it's stressful for me having to work, but I'm still so glad that I applied to a mix of GEM and undergrad, because I wouldn't have got in with my UCAT score. I think you just have to decide, what is your UCAT score, what are your stats, what are you most likely going to get accepted into. If your UCAT is really low, you might find that you're probably not going to get any interviews for graduate entry anyway. Maybe it's worth applying for undergrad as well. I just think you have to consider, is it something you can financially take on? Don't apply to a course that you're going to have to turn down if you get an offer, because that will be the most heartbreaking thing. Did you look at the acceptance rate for each med school when you applied, and did it worry you? Don't remember doing that. I think I just figured out the rough size of each cohort. I knew that Southampton graduate entry had a cohort of 40, whereas undergraduate has 250. So I immediately knew that my chances of getting on undergrad were a lot higher. It didn't worry me. I knew medicine was competitive. It is a competitive thing, and I even applied to Cambridge one year and I knew doing that I wasn't going to get in, so clearly acceptance rates didn't bother me too much. I just thought, why not? I think it's important to have in the back of your mind the odds of getting an offer, but I wouldn't let it worry you. If your stats are good enough for their course, then you should apply. Why did you choose medicine over teaching, and will you ever go back to teaching? I didn't choose medicine over teaching. I didn't get into medicine and I felt down in the dumps and I felt like I needed to come up with another career, so I chose to train to teach, and then I got into medicine anyway. You could say that teaching was my plan B and I was happy doing it, but medicine was my ultimate goal, so I was obviously going to leave teaching and have a go at medicine once I got in. Will I ever go back to teaching? Well, currently I am tutoring and I'm enjoying planning lessons and teaching them again. I'm really enjoying working with young people again. I don't think I'll ever go back and be a secondary school teacher, really, but I think the exciting thing for me is that teaching is a big part of medicine, so I really hope that I will be able to incorporate teaching into my career one day, whether that's being a lecturer or teaching in the hospitals, I don't know. The beauty of it is I actually can go and be a teacher whenever I want, if I want to be. So it's always there, but I don't think I will be a secondary school teacher ever again, but I think I will hopefully be teaching in some form. Do you think the stereotypes of medicine are accurate? I'm guessing you mean like the competitive, kind of gatekeeping, over the top, always in the library kind of stereotype. There are definitely competitive people on medicine. There are definitely people that don't share resources. I don't know why you wouldn't share resources, like we're all doing the same course. I don't feel like we've got much competition in our year, but maybe that's because we're earlier on in the course and we're not really thinking about deciles and things like that. I don't know if it gets a bit more cutthroat later on in the course, but right now I don't feel like there's much competition. I do think people on my course work really hard from what I've seen, so maybe that stereotype is correct. They work so hard, they're always in the library. I probably am a walking stereotype, let's be honest. 3 study tips that actually work. It's better to study 1 hour every day for 2 months than 10 hours every day for a week. Spaced repetition and using Anki is my holy grail. I would absolutely recommend using Anki if you don't use flashcards already. And number 3, don't shy away from the topics that you're not very good at. Those are the topics you should be covering more. How do you prioritise what work you need to do? I tend to start with planning out my week. I write in the non-negotiables, so any lectures, any placement, any shifts at the pub, if there's a YouTube video due, and then around that I see how much free time I've got, and then I'll say, okay, well that afternoon we've got one lecture, so the rest of the afternoon I'll spend doing work, and then in the evening I'll go to the pub quiz and I'll chill out. You only have so many hours in a week. You can only do so much extra work outside of the uni stuff anyway, and I always say that as long as I've done my lectures every week and I've written all my Anki flashcards and I've done everything I need to do, any extra work outside of that is a bonus, and if I don't get time to do it or I'm too tired, that's okay, there's always next week. So it's about prioritising what you actually need to do, and then any extra work is a bonus. How did you prepare the summer before med school? You don't need to, you just need to relax the summer before med school. Any plans on upgrading to a new laptop, or is your current one fine for a few years? So I have got the MacBook Air 2018 because I used to have a MacBook Pro, but when I was writing my dissertation in my third year in 2018, it died on me. That one was from eBay though, so I feel like it was probably a lot older than I realised. But this one is now 4 years old. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to keep it as long as it keeps working. The only issue I have with it is it's just not powerful enough for editing YouTube videos, and it has no memory left on it. Sometimes I have to delete like PowerPoint and Word if I need to finish editing a video. It's so bad. I definitely would upgrade if I had the funds, but it's fine for lectures. It does what it needs to do as a uni laptop, and if I was to upgrade, it would be for YouTube reasons, not for uni reasons. How do you organise Notion? Notion organisation video coming very soon, stay tuned for that. A couple of Southampton specific questions. What are the worst and best things about Southampton Med School? Worst thing is the organisation. Sometimes it's just not very organised, and the best things I think are just the amount of things you can do. Like, we have MedSoc organise so many fun things. I feel like I'm never far away from something fun happening, if that makes sense. Like, we've got Spring Ball coming up in a few weeks. I did MedSoc Monty a few weeks ago, so I think MedSoc is the best thing about the med school. Best night out in Southampton, is there a student night? There's student nights most nights in Southampton. The student union is absolutely terrible. You can't do a night out at the student union. It's just not a vibe. But there's the best night out in Southampton at the moment is probably a club called Trilogy. Switch is the biggest club, but I think Trilogy is more popular. And of course Southampton is famous for Jesters, once voted the worst nightclub in the UK, but it holds a special place in my heart. Are the year 1 exams for BM5 hard at Soton? I think they're hard because they cover everything you learn in first year, but as long as you go to all the lectures and you do some revision, they'll be fine. They're not there to catch you out, they're just checking that you've got everything in first year. Then they're hard, but they're not the hardest exams I've ever sat. And then I've got a few questions about my trip to New York. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I have actually just got back from New York, which was amazing. I have vlogged it, so there will be a vlog, so I won't spend too much time talking about it now because you'll see the vlog. How was your New York getaway? How was New York? Lots of people asking about that. I had the best time. I feel so lucky that I got to go. I've wanted to go for so long, and COVID put my plans to go on hold, so I'm just so grateful that I got to go there and see it, and I was just blown away every day. I would recommend New York. It is definitely worth the hype. Someone's asked for top tips on accommodation. So we stayed in a hotel called Row NYC, and it was about a 2-minute walk from Broadway. It was very loud. We were on the 18th floor and we could still hear most things, but it was very central. To be honest, it was the cheapest hotel we could find, so that's why we ended up staying there. I would recommend it if you're looking for a central, cheap option. If you have a bit more money and you want a bit more of a quiet getaway, then definitely stay in like an Airbnb slightly out of the centre. How much was New York? So we got a deal in the British Airways January sale. We got our flights from Heathrow and our accommodation for just over £600, which obviously is a lot of money, but is quite a good deal for New York, I think. And that was for 7 nights, so I do think we got a good deal with that. I was not prepared for the cost when we went out there. I have absolutely destroyed my overdraft, so I'll be paying for this trip for a little while, but I don't mind. It was really worth it, and I spent a whole week just having fun and exploring, and I didn't take my laptop with me. I just had a really good time, and I feel so much better now. Why didn't you take Jack to New York? So Jack is more of a beach holiday, all-inclusive, cocktails by the pool kind of man, and I love that about him, but I also like an adventure holiday. Lucy and I have done Dublin and we've done Paris, but we wanted to go somewhere together a bit more exciting. So we decided to do New York together, and I'm so happy we went together. I don't get to see her as much anymore because she lives in London and she's working now, so it was so nice to go away with her and get a break from Jack. It's just not really his vibe, although he was definitely jealous of Washington. We did a day trip to Washington and I think he was jealous of that because he's into his American politics. So I said to him I'll definitely go back there with him one day. Why don't you use your full name on here? So my full name is a double barrel name. It's my mum and dad's name mashed together. So it's Lydia Kinlin Martin. Martin is my dad's name and Kinlin is my mum's surname, but they double barreled it when they got married. I just go by Lydia Martin, A, because it's a bit more punchy, it doesn't have that many syllables, and B, because I kind of wanted to remain slightly anonymous online, like Kinlin Martin. I am the only Lydia Kinlin Martin, but obviously Lydia Martin is a famous character in Teen Wolf, so I just felt a bit more anonymous. Are you close to your family? Yes, I am really close to my family. However, I am the oldest of 4, so I definitely think I've got that whole oldest independent child thing going on. Like, I don't feel the need to go home very much anymore, and I think that's mainly because I live with Jack rather than living in a smelly student house. But when I lived in a smelly student house, I went home most weekends, but now I'm just quite chill and content staying here with Jack, and I visit my family maybe like once or twice a month. I speak to my dad probably every day on WhatsApp, and me and my mum are more like, we like to have one really long 2-hour phone call every week or 2. My siblings are getting more tolerable now they're older. My brother Dermot, he's 22 and he's just finished law at Swansea and he's got his first job as a paralegal. And then my sisters Amelia and Liberty, they're 21, and although we bicker a lot and steal each other's clothes, I do think we are friends. I hope they would agree. But they're both at uni as well, so Liberty's at Warwick doing mechanical engineering and Amelia's at Leeds doing biology, so we're all very busy doing our own thing. I think this will be the last question because I've been speaking for about an hour. What is the worst job you've ever had? It rhymes with TGI Schmeidays. And the second worst job I've ever had was when I was a Saturday girl in a hair salon, and I was 15, so they didn't have to pay me minimum wage. I used to do 9 hours on a Saturday and I'd get a £20 note out of the till at the end of the day. You know what, fair enough, but they were charging £150 for a cut, blow dry and colour, and they used to make me scrub the floors with bleach. So when I tell you they made me work for that £20 note, I feel like I've been talking for a really long time, so I'm going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching, and there'll be a weekly vlog out next week and hopefully a New York vlog coming very soon as well. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!